couple of days ago, I was doing some research in one of my food encyclopedias, this one here, and I was looking up a food that begins with the letter D, and my eyes happened to see the words dirty rice, which I've heard of, but I didn't know much about it. I didn't know what it was. So out of curiosity, I read about it. It's a Cajun specialty. And as I read about it, I thought this looks like it could be delicious because it's made with foods that I like. So I did some more research on recipes, and that's what I want to do today. I want to do this dirty rice. I've made some modifications. For one, dirty rice is traditionally made with white rice. But because I've been in this kind of healthy nutrition program for the past 6 months, we've been taught to think of ways of ramping up the nutritional density. So I'm going to use a combination of brown rice and wild rice. Another traditional ingredient is bell peppers. I'm not crazy about bell peppers, but some of the recipes I saw used celery instead, which I like the idea. I like celery. So those are the two modifications that I've made from my own recipe. Let's make dirty rice. My rice is going to take the longest to cook, so I'm going to start this first, and then while my rice is cooking, I can prep my vegetables. As I mentioned, I'm using a combination of brown rice and wild rice. I have 1 cup of brown rice, which is about 185 grams. Then my wild rice is half a cup, which measured 90 grams. I'm going to put that in my pan. And then I have here 3 cups, which is about 710 milliliters of my homemade chicken stock. I'm going to put that in there, bring this to a boil, reduce the heat to low, put a cover on it, and cook this, I'm estimating, anywhere from 30 to 40 minutes. I need a medium-ish onion, maybe 10 to 12 ounces. That's 283 to 340 grams. This is a little on the large side. It's more than 12 ounces, but not by much. So I might not use all of this. I'm going to peel this. Okay. I want a fairly small dice, I think, in this dish. So I'm going to cut these parallel lines kind of close together, and then cut across like that. And that's how I dice my onion. I need to dice some celery. I need half a cup of diced celery. Again, I'm going to aim for kind of a small dice here. Half a cup will be about 60 grams. Okay. And then having done that into long strips like that, I can just push these down and feed them to the knife rather than moving my knife down along the celery. There's my diced celery. I need about 1/3 cup of sliced green onion. This is about 25 grams. 3 small ones, 2 large ones if they're big. Again, just feed it to the knife. And there we go. There's my sliced green onions. I need some chicken gizzards. That's what this is, gizzards and hearts. And I'm going to trim these. I don't know that it's necessary, but this is something that I do. There's a white part kind of in the middle here. I usually just trim that out. Get rid of that part. And there's the trimmed gizzards. This is the meat that I want. I need half a pound of these gizzards, which is about 227 grams. So, okay, I got all my prep work done. Prepped all my vegetables and my meats while the rice was cooking. The rice cooked for 40 minutes to get it to where it was nicely tender, but still had a bit of an al dente chewiness to it, which is what I like. I drained my rice, and I only got less than half of a cup of liquid out of it. I'm going to retain this, and what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to use it in the pan to deglaze the pan, and then I'll reduce that down so that it's in my dish, in my dirty rice, but it'll add more flavor to it. So let's start cooking now. I'm heating a large skillet on the stove here. I'm going to put some cooking olive oil in there. I call this cooking olive oil. It's pure olive oil. Save the extra virgin olive oil for flavoring. This has a higher smoke point. It's better for cooking. A lot of the recipes use butter. I'm putting my gizzards and hearts in there, my giblets, and my livers. Again, that's half a pound of each, 227 grams. And I'm going to cook these until they're thoroughly cooked all the way through. That'll probably take 8 to 10 minutes. My chicken giblets are done frying, so I took those out of the pan, transferred them to a plate, let them cool down a little bit. This is pork sausage meat. It's usually sold in a plastic wrapped chub in the store. Again, I'm using half a pound or 227 grams. I bought a fat reduced variety. Usually this can be really fatty. So this is going to cook after I break this down. This will probably cook in about 5 minutes. But if you have a really fatty sausage meat, you may want to cook it longer, like say close to 10 minutes, just to rend down some of that excess fat, and then you can drain it. I doubt I'm going to have to drain this when I'm done because it's so lean. I'm turning the heat off under my sausage. This cooked in 3 minutes. Started to brown a little bit. And you can see it did not yield a lot of fat. So I don't need to drain this pan, but I do need to transfer this meat out. I'm going to put a little bit of butter in this pan now because I'm going to saute the vegetables. Okay, my butter is foaming, so that's a good indication. That's warm. I'm going to put my onions in there, my celery, my green onions, and this is about 3 tablespoons of chopped fresh parsley. I'm using Italian parsley there. Flat leaf parsley, it's also known as. I'm going to saute this over medium heat. I may put a cover on this. I don't know that it matters. But I'm going to cook these until it's tender, about 5 to 6 minutes. My vegetables are looking good here. I just reduced the heat down quite a bit. Before I'm done with this, I'm going to put in a couple of cloves of garlic. Crush that in. You can mince the garlic if you want. Alright, I'm going to bring the heat back up again to medium, and I'm going to cook this garlic for no more than a minute, and then my vegetables will be done. My vegetables are done. I put the last of that stock that I drained from the rice. I put that in the pan, let that reduce down. Now that my meats have had a chance to cool down a little bit, I put those in the bowl of a food processor. I'm going to pulse these to reduce these down to a much smaller texture because I have some pretty big pieces of meat in there, like this piece of chicken liver. I'm not making pate, so I don't need to reduce this down to a paste, but I want to get it down to about the texture of, say, ground beef. Okay, see if I can show you this. So I've reduced this down again to about the texture of ground beef. This didn't take long, a few seconds. I just brought my heat back up under my vegetables. I'm ready to start assembling my dish. First thing I want to do is put in my herbs. What I have here is a half of a teaspoon of dried basil and a half of a teaspoon of dried thyme. And then I'm going to grind some black pepper in there. I know this is going to need salt, so I'm going to put a pinch of salt in there. Okay, the temperature has come up under my pan now. I'm going to add my ground meat and my cooked rice. And you can see I've got a lot of food here. This is going to feed easily 8 to 10 people. And now I'm going to just turn this and mix this until it's all thoroughly mixed together, everything evenly distributed. I just turned my heat off under this. So there is my version of a dirty rice made with brown rice and wild rice. The last step is to plate this and enjoy it. Put a little bit in a bowl for myself. This is my first experience with this Cajun specialty, dirty rice. It looks absolutely delicious. It is. It's kind of hard to describe, but I'm almost left speechless. What an interesting and delicious combination of flavors. The celery in there, the meats, the rice, everything. This is a very delicious dish. I could easily make meals out of this. So excuse me, I'm going to go enjoy my dirty rice. For a printable PDF copy of this recipe with step-by-step photographs, visit my website, mobilehomegourmet.com, and look on the home page or in the recipe archive.